Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Why, hello there.
So we're getting this video in while the dogs are chomping on bones in the back there,
Yeah, I mean, they do that really good and loud.
especially when it's the IRS guy.
I I know. Well, that's what they're bred for.
Boom, boom. Yeah. Okay, so yes, do subscribe both channels if you haven't, and check in daily. We'll try to get videos up every day. Lately, honestly, I gotta tell you, my brain is going in one direction and then goes in another. It doesn't seem to be switching gears as good as it used to. Maybe it's because I'm heading towards Big 6-0. Oh my God, could it be? Could it be? I got a little of that senility Joe has in him. No, I don't think so. But anyway, Joe just gave us a slip of the tongue, or no, that was very purposeful. Please do check out that video if you guys are so inclined over on Evolutionary. And then back to EEARTS. Right now, this is going up on EEARTS, and this is more, preparing for the very cold winter, everything we're seeing social economically and earth change wise. And then we do have I actually got two other videos lined up, just we haven't gotten to get into them yet, that are going to go deep diving again into all sorts of hidden things and things again that are right beneath our feet.
Yes, I mean, a lot of things we're facing now. I mean, that's huge. Look at that head of lettuce. Wow.
$10.99. I mean, I just spent $8.48 on eggs. Albeit we always get organic and we put our intention into the food because we recognize even when it's got this label doesn't mean it's perfect. Far from it in this age. $11 for a head of organic lettuce. Holy cow! This is in the Bay Area, and then over in the UK, this is your couple in the living room now. Well, let's just heat the living room, Ma. Okay, Pa. Okay, if they're able to heat anything, maybe put the oven on for a little bit. This has happened overnight. I think it feels like for many people. What the heck happened? And we have many family members over in the UK, and what I was hearing yesterday was kind of shocking, not unexpected, but I guess maybe a little unexpected with how quickly it's happening. As I was made aware that some people are getting raided for their food stores by the officials already, as well as potentially ways to basically protect themselves. Yeah, when Big Brother comes in and says, you have too many canned goods. Why you got all these canned goods? It looks like you could last 5 months. You know that, things are progressing to a new level.
Mm-hmm. Well, in that very, very bad abusive relationship, I mean, needs to come recognition, because if they're doing that, then they're forcing people to be beholden to them, and then they're going to force people, well, you do what we say or you're not going to get tomorrow's food. I mean, it's all in an effort to just totally dominate. It's horrible.
It is. It's controlling the narrative. It's forcing us to do the will of the controllers. That's exactly what's going on. So 25% of British adults are struggling to keep warm in their homes as they have to cut back on energy use in the face of soaring costs. And again, notification from family in the UK saying, come January, it's going to increase again. And it's already more than double or triple what it was. And you're going to expect another doubling. This is raking over the coals. This is so orchestrated. There's no way. I don't know how you could think this isn't orchestrated. So this report was published on Thursday, shows 23% of adults were occasionally, hardly ever, or never able to keep comfortably warm in their living room over the past 2 weeks. The ONS data, which is the Office for National Statistics, indicated 63% of adults were using less gas and electricity because of the increases in the cost of living, and 96% of those adults were using less heating. When asked about the measures they're going to take to keep warm, 82% said they're going to use more clothing and blankets. 46% were only heating rooms they use. I think that's a wise way to go. Again, you don't want pipes to break or anything. So, you do want to make sure everything's okay to a certain level. 31% were using hot water bottles or microwave warmers. 27% going to bed earlier. We go to bed pretty darn early, guys. Again, try to stay in sync with the natural cycles as much as you can. Of course, if you're working the night shift, that's going to be impossible. And we see this is a farmer up in Nebraska. And he says, I think this has been the worst blizzard of my lifetime. I've had worse depth of snow, but this is the longest duration. The wind has been relentless. Looking forward to relief tomorrow. Now I've seen the worst flood, the worst pandemic, the worst drought, and the worst blizzard of my life in the past 4 years.
Now, I mean, if that doesn't sound like end times information, I don't know what does.
But what if the end times, as we've been saying, are always? Maybe, when we look back to life, say in the 50s and the 60s, we got a little bit of a respite. The 50s and the 60s until, we had Vietnam set in, maybe that was just a golden era of sorts, maybe a golden era of naivete as things were going to start ramping up again. Scores dead, roads submerged as floods hit Kinshasa. This is in the Congo. And the likelihood is that there's probably hundreds lost. They don't know at this moment, as you can see, so many people are missing right here. And this is all due to heavy rains. And we're talking about how certain areas can mud flood at any time. And we have these floods that have been ongoing, especially since 2017. That are just beyond what we had seen in previous decades. But then maybe not beyond what was happening in the 1800s or even up to 1900 or so. Stunning ice pancakes swirl on the surface of a Scottish river. Wildlife experts, those look pretty cool, don't they?
Yeah.
Recently captured footage of frozen discs, known as ice pancakes, on a surface of a river in Scotland after unusual cold snap. So, these are not typical to find, but we're finding very unusual things occurring all around the globe. Snowfalls in Tasmania amid unseasonably cold start to summer in Australia's southeast. Oh, yeah. The extremes are just getting more extreme. 72 inches of snow in Colorado, 12-foot tall drifts. This isn't December 21st even yet. Hang on, guys. It's going to be a fun one. Over here, 6 feet of snow in Alta, the Salt Lake City area. Dangerous avalanche conditions exist. Holy plow, nearly 30 inches in Finland, 27 in western Duluth. This is actually over in Minnesota, not Finland, across the pond. As we see, the snow is racking up. Over in Japan, almost 5 feet of it. 5 feet of snow, coldest air mass of the season hit in Japan. And this is, again, breaking records going back to the 60s, and wind temperatures that are sticking around as high as 75, 76 miles an hour. And you have Serbia's president saying, well, next winter is going to be the bad one.
Oh, my gosh. After all of these promises they made this year, and then they're already starting early for next year, I think, boy, people are going to be conditioned and they're going to know how to stay warm. So hopefully it just won't catch people off guard.
Yeah, actually, he says next winter is going to be the hardest in the history of the world. The history of the world. We talk to so many people every single week, and we try to answer a lot of comments. And what we're getting is a lot of people can sense that there are absolutely very, very major things in play coming along. And really, it sounds like everybody's saying the same question. What do you feel the timeline looks like?
Yeah.
Because they're feeling that, they're basically saying, how much time do we have to prep before it really just starts to disintegrate? And we're all kind of on our own, or at least in our little groups, if you guys are so put together. And we got to say, there's a lot of people out there that in the last couple of years have gone and removed themselves from cities and put themselves on little plots of land and are doing their thing, getting ready to be self-sufficient, off-grid, and being able to produce their own food. There's a lot. A lot of people have seen the writing on the wall. So maybe a lot of people are just doing like Noah did in those days. The signs of the times are all around us. And of course, the Noah story is really based on Utnapishtim, who is a very curious, interesting individual, the Sumerian, Akkadian version of the Noah story. And we'll get into a lot more detail on that, hopefully in this upcoming week. Dazzling meteor fireball illuminates the night sky, falls on a village in China. Now, one thing is seeing all these fireballs. Okay, yeah, we've seen tons of fireballs. But falling on villages, now that's a little bit of a change, and we have them hitting the ground more often lately, do we not?
Well, that's the question. Are they really these fireballs hitting the ground? I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Thankfully, what they found was only 8 centimeters in length and weighed 1.7 kilos. Still, that bunks you on the head. It's going to be a bad day. Might be the last day. Yeah. And so we also get this meteorite hit suspected after a major leak from a Soyuz capsule. Russia aborts International Space Station spacewalk mission after NASA footage shows particles spraying from the MS-22 capsule. There is again that Hopi prophecy that many take to be something that was inhabited in the sky that falls to the ground. And that being like a sign of, okay, hang on tight, here we really go.
It's the Hopi prophecies that I really watch. Never mind the things that are the revelations is really, really interesting and curious and fun to dive into. But the Hopi prophecies, those are the ones to keep an eye on.
Well, the detail, that's the difference. And then when we talk about Alois Erlmeiler, and we talk about Peter Dunev, and we talk about many others that have had these visions, they give exact details. They tell you about dates. They give you things that are so specific, not like, oh, you're going to hear about wars and rumors of wars. Yeah, that's every day. Again, it's very, very specific what we get from some in modern times, and then also with the Hopi. So we have a major landslide hits camping site in Malaysia, leaving dozens dead and missing. We've seen a ton of landslides lately. Again, they go hand in hand with living on a steep mountain and having tons of water. So yeah, again, the mountains can be deadly. The mountains might save you at one point in time, but then they might also kill you at another point in time. So, it's again developing that inner voice to know, just like the animals will know. They'll know. And when you see animals clearing out of an area, notice.
Oh my gosh, yes. Pay attention to nature. She really, truly has all the answers. And boy, if you do see that, and plus you guys know when you walk through the forest and if it suddenly gets really creepily quiet, there's a problem there. So really get in tune with those nature ears of yours, because that's going to take you in the right direction.
So I look at all these boats and they're all like, wow, isn't that cool, honey? Look at the volcano explode. Wow. And, no, we're safe, hon. We're safe. Yeah, it never reaches this far. Well, again, these are different times. And they say the plumbing underneath Stromboli, the plumbing system, the internal plumbing system, seems to have changed. So magma from deep beneath the surface is rising more easily, triggering violent and unpredictable blasts. In other words, it might be pretty foolish to be that close, even if it was safe in the past. There's a change going on across the planet right now. Deer disease threatens herds across the country. Officials are struggling to halt the spread of chronic wasting disease. Yeah, and of course that Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease, the mad cow disease, Lyme disease, all the co-infections that come with Lyme disease, all these things, again, is adding to the misery and suffering. It's adding to an attack on everybody's immune system. It's adding to the food supply, and it's causing a lot of death and suffering in the animals as well. So, again, this is something to really be aware of, especially the hunters out there. Car repossessions are on the rise, and it's a warning sign for the economy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cars, and then, the mortgages, and that's going to be something. And then when people can't afford to pay the rent because they've paid a, heating bill that's 3 or 4 times the usual, and there's no money for rent, this is adding to the homeless situation is what it's doing. And it's adding to a lot of people that are going to be very desperate. And when carrots are handed out, hey, you know what? We got universal basic income now. Where do you sign up? What do you got to do? This is all part of that plan. Oil exports from key Russian port cut in half as price cap kicks in. So, there's no relief. This is part of what's going on. And the system itself is definitely changing. Global coal consumption breaks record, skyrocketing gas prices, key factor in surging coal demand. So much for clean air, right? Clean air, clean water. And 400 plus hotels are being used to house illegal boat migrants in the UK. Let me guess, they're all between 18 and 40, and they're all clean shaven and have nice clothes.
Yes, and very well prepared and super healthy.
Yeah, exactly. They're just waiting for the go sign. Is a vast number of them anyway. Xi of Arabia and the the petro yuan. Ah, yes. It's again this shift that we've been talking about since 2017. It's all about making China the role model, making China the new world's police force, the new dominant military force. And so when we see Saudi Arabia buddying up to China, and we see everybody starting to ditch NATO and the U.S., we're very, very close. And water wars are heating up in Central Asia. Again, there's no reason for any of this in reality. Well, the only reason is the greed of the system. We can get along, and I do think that the majority of people would just get along just fine if it wasn't for the leadership of the planet. It's the leadership of the planet that's the problem. The global gas crunch is set to worsen as China reopens. China's natural gas imports are set for a 7% rise next year as the country reopens after the lockdowns. So yeah, everything you see in China, again, is intended to make its way everywhere as far as the way things are done. And when you look to China, you got to recognize in some cases they have 60% or more of the stored up grains on the entire planet. I mean, you want to talk about money, real money in the bank? That's real money in the bank.
It's control too.
Yeah, it's again choosing a new leadership on the planet to move forward. And those people will benefit more than some others, just like the Native Americans that were here in the Americas that were subjugated by the European colonists. It'll be now those European colonists that are subjugated by the colonists from the fine dining ware country, amid others. And here we have, why would we have Prince Charles knighting the head of Astra Z? Hello. This picture says 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm. When I looked at that, it's quite nauseating because people don't get knighted for nothing. There's certain things that they need to do, and it's just horrible when you see it and they make a public display of it, but most people don't know what goes on behind it. Nor can I say.
Yeah. It's overwhelming, the darkness on this planet in very high places. Australian supermarkets recalling hallucinogenic spinach? Really? Yeah, so apart from the hallucinations, people who consume spinach experience several other severe symptoms like fever and blurred vision. They lasted more than 24 hours. So Australian retail chain Coles joins the spinach recall, aiming to prevent sickness among the customers. Previously, spinach products were recalled by Woolworths and Costco, both supermarket giants. I didn't know Woolworths still existed. There's none. It hasn't been any of those anywhere in the U.S. where I've lived since I was a little boy. Curious. But yeah, it's contaminated by unsafe plant material. Food Standards Australia and New Zealand is monitoring the situation closely, working with business to coordinate the recall. Coles has recalled 11 spinach-containing products that were sold in New South Wales, Victoria, Australian Capital Territory, Queensland, Northern Territory, and South Australia. The affected products have been sold since December 8th, according to the retail giant's statement. Supermarket giant Costco made an announcement earlier this week when dozens of people fell ill, some of them reporting hallucinations. On the same day, Woolworths recalled its chicken cob salad and chickpea falafel salad. In Victoria, 8 people reported symptoms after eating spinach. In New South Wales, 47 citizens reported symptoms such as serious hallucinations, delirium, blurred vision, dilated pupils, fever, and 17 needed medical help. Meanwhile, the authorities launched an investigation. The main version is that spinach was contaminated with a weed that can have health consequences if consumed, as put by Riviera Farms, one of the companies which recalled the supermarket's product. That's okay. Well, there's a lot of things that are out there, maybe even in your backyard, that you should never consume.
I know, that sounds more like ayahuasca, though.
Yeah, it's curious. Insanely huge Mars quake had energy equal to all previous quakes ever seen, so says scientists. Yeah, they're letting us know Mars is not as dead as we've been led to believe. In actuality, all the water didn't escape. It's just underneath the surface where you can't see it. But, maybe one day it'll make its way out. And, it's not a dead planet. It is alive. It is still having earthquakes. And for some strange reason, they just had this massive quake that they've never had anything like this, or that we've ever observed, that they've told us about before. Could this be due to, the new incoming energies that are changing things? The forerunner of the galactic superwave that's coming? Or, is this anything to do with, boring out new tunnels like Elon does all the time? Or is this part of a galactic war that's going on?
What I like to hold in my mind and in my heart, that maybe, with these quakes that are being seen, maybe it's some form of healing or some form of clearing of a negative energy.
Well, there's a lot of negative energies that can be cleared. We could start with the White House.
That's good. I love it.
Predecessors of vegan dinosaurs were carnivorous. Okay, so this is another thing they're telling us. Now, what I'm getting, and what hits me about this, is really the thought of the different yugas. So, as we've been in 3D and now we're getting used to what the lower 4D feels like, not that nice, really. Let's make it a brief stay, okay? Our diets and just our whole existence is going to change. Going back to the 80s, there was talk that humans were going to develop new organ systems. I do think that's occurred. I've actually felt changes in my own body that lead me to think that's happening. We've actually seen people born with 3 and 4 strand DNA. I mean, it's actually something you could go ahead and search and find it. Of course, they'll make it out that it's a negative thing. Oh, it's scary. It's going to lead to more cancers. It's going to lead to more of this and that. And no, we're actually regaining that which has been turned off and lost, and that's part of what's going on. But when we're in a 5D existence, we don't eat solid food. We certainly don't eat meat. And, as we go up in vibration, we're actually going to need less and less food. This is part of maybe the good news, though one of the experiences that people incarnate for is to enjoy the things of life that are, the sensual pleasures like food, smelling the bread baking in the oven, or healthy treats. These are part of the things that we don't have when we're in just the energy bodies. It's that there is a benefit to having a heavy sensual experience.
We get to recall it.
Yeah. When we get to recall it. And that's one of the things I've noticed too, in dreams and stuff. And since I've been able to lucid dream, and again, like my own personal training on that goes back about 30 years or so, I've noticed that like when there's stuff cooking or there's a great meal and I go to taste it, it's not real. It's kind of like a recall, but it's not real. And then that's the downside on when we're outside of these bodies. So yeah, we can manifest all sorts of amazing and beautiful things, but in 3D, one of the reasons why we come here is to really have that heaviness of the experience, which comes with, it's a duality, so pain and pleasure. There's the good and the bad. There's the yin and the yang. There's a little bit of yin and yang, a little bit of yang and yin. So when we're in the heavy 3D existence, especially in a Kali Yuga like this, there's a little bit of the light, there's a lot of the darkness. Now it inverses when we're up in, say, 5, 6, when we get beyond the lower 5D, we really don't really see any sort of like conflicts really going on and all. Where a lot of action is in the 4D. The 4D is an action-packed density.
Mm-hmm. The difficult experiences that we have here definitely hold a lot of value, because just for however far down we can go, understanding that we can go that high, and so many yogi masters understand if they're experiencing something difficult, it's like they know exactly what's happening, so they will almost smile. If they're in a lot of pain, they know this is burning karma. If there is emotional difficulty involved, they know that this is duality, and soon there will be the opposite of that effect. So in that sense, they're they're freed from a lot of these situations that happen here in the 3D just because of their understanding. But you don't have to be a yogi master to know that. You can just know that and understand it. It's our understanding.
Absolutely. So as always, guys, we want to thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Do check out Medicinal Foods. These are good guys. They've been part of the family since we started, pretty much. And so they do have some good things to share that could help boost your immune system and still taste yummy.
I'm sure that's still an okay time, but great idea for Christmas presents.
Yeah, absolutely. So as always, much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.